do anything you want. I ain't got no problem with it. I promise you that shit.
Listen to the words. Garbage, a joke, clown acts, pisses me off. No, come find me. No, come find me. Listen to the words. Come find me. Garbage, a joke, clown acts, pisses me off.
I ain't a hard guy to find. I promise you that shit.
Listen to the words. Garbage, a joke, clown acts, pisses me off. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Thursday night live right here, 6 o'clock, live on the YouTube channel. We're live on Twitter and Facebook as well. That's right, we have a Facebook page if you haven't checked us out over there. But what's up, man? We got the NFL draft coming up, one of the greatest days in sports lore, and here's why. It's selling hope. Okay, you want to make some money, you want to build up a customer base, you want to rile up the folks. Let me tell you right now, sell some hope. That's all you got to do. Tell them, hey, tomorrow's better. Okay. I've been running a business long enough. Now, it's different because you actually won a national title now, or being the Georgia fan base. But I'm telling you right now, for the first 3 or 2.5 years of running this business that we run, man, when it comes to recruiting information, y'all all over. Recruiting storylines, y'all want all of that good stuff. Rankings, I mean, there's a whole entire industry built on rankings. Why? Because everyone's looking towards tomorrow. Everyone wants the next new shiny toy, which is what the NFL draft is all about. It's all about the new shiny toy. Welcome into the show. Glad you are here today. We got some good pre-draft content coming for you today, including why it's got to be Trayvon Walker at number 1. Absolutely got to be. There's no discussions about it. I mean, the odds makers have now shifted towards it. They understand it now. But I'm going to add a little bit of information behind why it always had to be him. Aiden Hutchinson's a good football player, but we're going to explain to you today why, of course, the Jacksonville Jaguars are taking Trayvon Walker. I'm also going to kind of debunk this theory or this idea or this notion that 50%, that's the old cliche you hear all the time, right? 50% of first-round draft picks bust. I'm going to add a lot of context. I spent way too much time today going into a deep rabbit hole, crunching some numbers on draft picks and first-round draft picks in particular. So obviously what today is, which is the first round. So going to show you some data, some actual context to the last 3 drafts as to, no, it's not really all first-round draft picks bust. It's more, you gotta understand that the first round has separations of categories, right? I mean, hell, the first draft pick overall is guaranteed, I think, north of $30 million. The last first-round draft pick is guaranteed like 10. Okay, so there is a massive difference, right? There's a massive difference, and that with that becomes a massive difference in terms of statistical hit rate. And we're going to show you a little bit of data behind that today. Shouts to the graphic department, and we're going to bring you some topics. Some Discord topics, okay? I'm also going to bring in some context to some hot takes that I'm tired of seeing with regards to some Georgia football players that are going to be drafted today. So we're going to squash those for fine and for good, for final and for good. For fine and for good don't make no daggum sense. But before we get into tonight's show, I do got to throw a shouts to the keynote sponsor, which is Gramco. Whether it's you or your team's game on the field, screen, board, table, track, diamond, court, or mat, wherever it's at, the Gramco is for the game. Grown by farmers who spent years developing premium hemp genetics, Gramco provides our customers with consistent quality Delta 8 THC products ready for almost any occasion. And yes, gentlemen, did you know that they are backed by Georgia supporters and they're veteran owned? Take your shots for you guys at home playing the Gramco drinking game. Yeah, got to holler at them gummies, man. We got some good stuff going on over there at thegramco.com. Use promo code Brooks25 today and you will get 25% off over there. Real powerful brand awareness right here with us. Thegramco.com, a company that's backed us and walking with us down this path of YouTube greatness. Okay, absolute YouTube greatness. But let's talk about this, right? The Jacksonville Jaguars might as well be on the clock. They've been on the clock since the regular season ended, right? A 3-14 season made them have, obviously, the number 1 overall draft pick for the second consecutive year. Urban Meyer a whole dumpster fire. So new coach, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, whole new regime minus obviously the owner. The owners don't leave in these situations. They stick around. They get to stick around. So let's talk about it. If you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think you need an edge rusher. That's what you need to pair with Josh Allen, your magical edge rusher on the other side, who happens to have been playing more of a hybrid outside backer type of role. That's worth noting. It's damn sure worth noting. They've been running an odd front defense in Jacksonville. I don't know what their new defensive coordinator is running, but that's worth noting. Okay, only one of these guys in terms of Aiden Hutchinson and Trayvon Walker is schematically diverse. One guy is a true 7. That's Aiden Hutchinson. That's what he does. He plays that, and he plays that really, really well. The other guy does a whole bunch of stuff at an elite level, right? We've seen him play 4-eye. We've seen him play 5. We've seen him play head up 6. Seen him play a 7 and a stand up 9, and hell, even a true 0 as a freshman and sophomore. So you've seen Walker do it all. But the reason and the added context needed here as to why it's always been Walker, and it always should have been Walker in terms of the number 1 overall draft pick right here tonight, it's pretty simple in my opinion, right? The Jacksonville Jaguars were a 3-14 football team in 2021. We all know that. They were outscored by an average of 12 points per game, 2 full touchdowns, okay? Not the PATs, but 2 full touchdowns. They were worse than the average opponent every single Sunday, by far the worst in the league, okay? They were dead last in points scored. They were 28th in points allowed. By all accounts, this is a really, really, really bad football team. A really bad football team, okay? New head coach, like I told you, new coordinator, and a new slate completely wiped it clean. This is a football team that is really, really far from doing any type of impactful winning, right? Really far. I mean, a quarterback in Trevor Lawrence that looked kind of rough as a rookie, but there's a whole lot of stuff going around him that, a lot of chaos going around him. So you don't really evaluate the first year. The first year is a bunch of learning, right? So you've still got a bunch of learning to do. You're not in a win now mode. Hell, you're not even close to a win now mode. You might be in a win now mode 2 or 3 years from now. So what is your priority? What should be your priority if you are indeed a team that is really, really far from winning? Okay. If the Jags were 1 12-sack player away, I'd say, sure, go ahead. Draft Trayvon Walker, draft Aiden Hutchinson, right? I think Aiden Hutchinson is a security pick. He is a safety blanket pick, right? He is no different to me than Nick Bosa or Joey Bosa. Both those guys you knew, right? And Aiden Hutchinson, in my opinion, that's a 10-sack-a-year guy. If he stays healthy, he will be a really, really good A-minus NFL football player. Will he ever be? Now, Nick Bosa's got a chance to be one of the best edge rushers in the league if he stays healthy. Joey, I don't know, okay? But Aiden is right there in that pack, and those are the comps that he's getting. He's just 6'7 and a half, okay? If he's just going to be an A-minus player, that's fine. That comes with a lot of security. And matter of fact, that might save your job in most drafts when what you need is a defensive end, okay? When what you need is a defensive end, Aiden Hutchinson will protect you, and there will be a lot of security in that pick in most drafts. But this ain't most drafts, okay? Drafting Aiden Hutchinson and having him turn into a good football player could still get you fired. And hear me out, okay? Think about it. Trayvon Walker, when we're talking about Aiden Hutchinson, that's a guy that has reached his floor, right? He's right there. He's what he is going to be. At his worst, he's already there, right? He might get a little better. Whereas Trayvon Walker is the complete opposite. Trayvon Walker is a football player that is literally scratching his floor. He ain't even reached the base of what he could be, right? I mean, hell, he just had a one year of starting experience in college football and did extremely well, right? Did extremely well. He's only scratching the floor, right? He's only scratching the floor. So if he turns out to be the next game wrecker, even if you have Aiden Hutchinson, and he's a really, really solid football player, and he's going to be for a long time, right? He's what we're going to talk about later is what we call a ground rule double prospect. It's solid freaking contact. I mean, you're going to hit it. It's going to feel really, really well. You're going to walk into second base. It's going to be a 10-year starter. It's going to be we did a great job. We're happy with that pick, right? Except for if the next pick turns out to be a grand slam, right? Except for if the next pick turns out to be one that got hit 480 feet out the building, right? Which is what Trayvon Walker could be. If Trayvon Walker turns into the next game wrecker and you have passed on him, you're not only fired from your current job, you're stained on your next job, right? The guys that drafted Sam Bowie, you don't know their name, and there's a reason for that. They never got another shot, right? They never got another shot, and you won't. You won't. If you pass up on game record to draft low floor or high floor, you're gone, okay? Even if the guy in Aiden Hutchinson is a solid football player. Okay, if the next guy turns into, prime example, it ain't Mitch Trubisky that got that Chicago unit fired. He was bad. Don't get me wrong. He was really, really bad. But what got that Chicago group fired was the fact that the two guys that he took over him in Watson and Mahomes happened to be freaking transcendent, right? I mean, my God, holy crap, good at the position, right? That's what gets these dudes fired. That's what keeps them from getting jobs at the next place, passing up on the guy that could be the next one. And by all accounts, Trayvon Walker looks like that. And guess what? You're 3-14. You've got time to grow, right? You've got time to figure it out. I was told apparently Georgia just landed a 5-star. Is that live right here on breaking news? That happens all the time. Seems like that's a top 5. We'll see here. Someone check on this for me. A little Kirby Visor hopping up in here with landing some 5 stars. Anyways, let's keep going. But yeah, man, like passing up on football players that are this good to take really, really safe players is how you get fired, right? Your job, in my opinion, as an NFL general manager or as an NFL head coach, right, is to draft and project, right? To be able to take something that might be this big ball of clay and mold it into the NFL bust that's going to be in the Hall of Fame, right? Like that's your job as an organization. That's what you should be able to do. You should be able to take really, really talented people and cultivate them into the ultimate pinnacle of what they can be. And that's outside of football. That's all leadership positions. That's your job. Your job is not to play safe. Okay, your job is not to play safe. And we have some data that backs this up, in my opinion, right? We have some data that completely backs this up, and I'm going to share some of that with you right now, right? Everyone tells you all the time. They say, "Hey, man, like that first round, round's 50-50. Like it's boom or bust, right? 50% of NFL draft picks are bust." How many times have you heard that stat, right? Oh, just regurgitated over and over again. Oh, well, it's a really, really hard game to figure out. I mean, it's hard to evaluate. There's a lot of misses you're going to miss. Even the best evaluators in the world, hell, they only hit the first round draft picks on a 50% rate, right? I'm not saying this game's impossible. In fact, it's extremely hard. I miss on prospects all the time, right? But this idea that 50% of first round draft picks are bust it completely lacks context, like has none. There's 32 draft picks in the first round. There's 32 draft picks in the first round, right? And they all carry different weight. We just told you that, right? At the start of the show, 34 million down to 10. I mean, literally, there is a total different level of investment down the line when it comes to these first round draft picks, right? So do 50% of first round draft picks bust? Probably over time, but which 50%? Where are they at? Where are they located? Right? That's what we're here to talk about today. And that's what we're here to take and apply to not only tonight's draft, but to the Georgia football players that are available in tonight's draft. So let's take a look at this right quick. Okay. So as I share you this on the screen, I'm going to explain to you something. I personally believe you separate drafts, like NFL drafts, into 3 categories. Okay. And hear me out here. 3 categories. Category 1, right? Category 1 is quarterbacks. Completely separate them. Quarterback success, in my opinion, is completely dependent upon situation, people around them, offensive coordinator, offensive line, just the whole amalgam that is an NFL franchise. That, to me, is what depends upon the success of the individual. Now, there are some rarities, right? There are some different cases. There's some Joe Burrows that walk into just absolute crap storms and turn them into Super Bowls. But for this sake of this argument and this discussion, we're going to completely remove quarterbacks from this discussion. So you'll see them highlighted in red. Now, the rest of the draft, I've gone upon myself and knocked out some hits, right? Some guys that we know are absolute football players. Really, really good draft picks, guys that are living up to where they were selected. Nick Bosa, Quentin Williams, Devin White, Josh Allen, the edge rusher, right, from Jacksonville, Ed Oliver, Devin Bush, Christian Wilkins. You see all those guys right there in the top 16 that are in yellow. Now, in blue, you'll see what we call ground rule doubles. These are football players that were drafted with a lot of draft capital, and they just happen to turn into really, really serviceable NFL football players, right? They're not great. They're not all pros, but they're not absolute dog water, right? They're not, we're so bad, we're not going to pick up your fifth-year option, right? Those guys you'll see listed in blues. These are players like Jonah Williams, Rashawn Gary. Like, Rashawn Gary is not a bad football player, okay? He's going to play in the league for 10 years. Really serviceable football player. Not a bad pick. Same thing for Chris Lindstrom, guys like Brian Burns. Okay. But there you see, in my opinion, that line of demarcation, right? Which is that top 16, right? We'll just separate it in half. There's the quarterbacks, thirds, really. There's the quarterbacks, there's that first 16 picks, and then there's that last 16 picks of that first round. Where if you really look, I mean, there's one bust in there, Cleveland Farrell, in that first 16 picks. And that was Mike Mayock, first-year draft, just doing some goofy stuff, right? Then you go down the list, there ain't a miss in there outside of Cleveland Farrell, right? It's a bunch of really, really good football players. And then you get into there in that 17 to 32 range, right? And it's guys like Dexter Lawrence and Jeffrey Sims. They're really good football players, okay? And then it's Gary Bradbury. He'll be a free agent. They're not going to pick up his fifth-year option. You got Andre Dillard, complete bust. Titus Howard, bust. Jonathan Abram, not going to pick up his option. Jerry Tillery, right? L.J. Collier. Most of these guys you don't know the names of. DeAndre Baker, we know how that turned out. Not even on the same team, playing practice squad for Kansas City. Caleb McGarry, how's that turning out? Falcons fans, right? Okay, so this bottom half, you see, there's a lot more of a miss rate, right? In this 2019 draft, in my opinion, you'll see over here on the far right, that's a 56.25% miss rate in the back 16 picks, right? That is 9 of 16 guys that will no longer be on their team's roster 4 years after being drafted. That's not great, guys. That's obviously not great, right? Okay, and then you see some guys that are still, ground rule doubles. Some really good football players, Montez Sweat, Marquise Brown, Josh Jacobs, which in my opinion is what you're trying to do in this back half of the first round. Trying to hit some ground rule doubles, man. We're just not trying to bust, right? We're not trying to have a 6 selection pick of guys that won't be, maybe not even in the league by 5 years out after the first year, right? Or after their draft year. Jonathan Abram, Jared Tillery. Like, you see the list of those guys on the bottom. Those guys will not be on their current rosters. Those are wasted picks, right? Those are teams taking swings, big hacks on guys that they think are going to project to being something instead of taking nice, safe picks. And we'll talk about this more as we develop. And then we got this one, right? That's 2019. Well, guess what? We dug it up. We dug it up a little bit further. Let's check out 2020, right? Again, take out the quarterbacks. Let's talk about that hit rate. Okay, let's talk about that hit rate in that first 16 picks. Look at that, 61.53%. Names like Young, Andrew Thomas, Jedrick Wills, Mekhi Becton when healthy. I mean, Henry Ruggs, he's got to come off this list. He shouldn't be measured yellow, okay, because obviously he's in jail, I'm pretty sure. Unless he bonded out. Somebody help me out there. Okay, good football player. Was turning into a really good football player. Bad stuff off the field happened. Is that on the GM? Not going to say it is. Javon Kinlaw, good football player. AJ Terrell. And again, after that 16 mark, right, that line of demarcation, you see 2 hits. You see CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson. Those are really good football players from that 2020 draft. But, man, look at that. Look at that 18 to 21 range. That's a lot of wasted draft capital, right? Jordan Love, my God, 26. Wasted draft capital. Tennessee Titans, 29. Isaiah Wilson. Again, a guy that they were betting on traits. I mean, that's a miss, right? Jeff Gladney, a traits bet right there out of TCU. Complete miss. Guy didn't even might not even make the roster this year in Minnesota, right? So all the misses apart from Jeff Okudah up there, number 3, which looks like, shouts out to the Detroit Lions, right? That line of demarcation is true again, right? You get after that 16th pick, and we really start to hit. We really starting to miss. Right, the miss rate's getting really, really high. Let's go to last year's draft just to nail the point home here. You'll see it again. I mean, look at this, guys. Look at this run right here, 4 through our 50% of first round draft picks really misses. Look at this. Kyle Pitts hit, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Penei Sewell, J.C. Horn, Patrick Surtain, Devontae Smith, took a quarterback, Micah Parsons, Rashawn Slater, Elijah Vera-Tucker. I just named about 9 of the 22 all-rookie teams, all in a row. Bam, 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 bam. All those guys going to play for a long, long time. Those are hits in the draft. Guaranteed, bona fide NFL football players, right? So what in the hell does this all mean? Why is he getting all worked up over guys that were drafted a couple years ago and trying to find out? Yeah, like, of course, obviously, you go further down the draft, people get, less likely to be successful. Well, the whole point of it is to try to apply it and put some context into this year's draft, right? This year's draft. Well, let me scroll down on my notes. Okay. So what's the point? Again, the point is in the first 16 picks, if I'm an NFL general manager, I am absolutely swinging out of my shoes. Swinging out of my shoes. A prime example of this would be the Aiden Hudson, Trayvon Walker discussion. I just showed you in that list, there's been 2 busts in 3 drafts in the top 16 picks of position players. Go get the highest ceiling and swing as hard as you can. Because guess what? If you're there, you got nothing to lose, man. If you're in that top 16, that top 10 range particularly, you're not really quite close. Unless you traded to get up in there, you're not quite close to winning a Super Bowl or competing for a Super Bowl. So you need to take guys that maybe either need time to develop or will be at their absolute peak of their powers in 2 or 3 years. Okay? So take your hacks in that first upper half of that draft, right? Take your hacks in that first half of your upper draft. Second 16, I'm trying to hit ground rule doubles, man. I'm trying to make really solid contact. I'm trying to find guys that I know will play for me for 10 years. Okay. And if I want to take a project player in round 2, if I want to take the NFL draft equivalent of a Jacob Hood, then you do that. You don't waste bottom end first round draft picks on project players because odds are they're going to bust. We had hits or bust rates as high as 56%, 65% in that bottom half of the NFL draft in the first round. Whereas in the first half, I mean, you could just, right? You could just close your eyes and pick one, and the damn dude would turn out to be an all-rookie guy in a couple of these drafts, right? So, again, let me ask you something, okay? Let's take the 2021 NFL draft, right? Do you how many people you think watched playoff football this spring or this fall and said, damn, that Nick Bolton's pretty good, right? That linebacker from Kansas City, he's really, really good. Wonder where he was drafted. He's a late second round pick, the 58th overall. Why is a guy like that getting drafted 58 overall, right? I mean, everyone knew. Guy's 10-year starter in the league. Guy's 10-year starter in the league, going to play an inside backer, going to man your defense, going to hold you down. How many teams you think passed up on this dude, right? Just because what? Because you wanted to take some project players, right? The Commanders, I believe, is their team now. The Washington football team. They took a guy named Jamin Davis out of Kentucky because he was 6'4", he was long, he was projectable, he was this big project player. And hey, man, we can just fit him in, right? We can protect him and we can project him out, right? Protect him and project him. We can get it done, right? Wrong. Had an absolutely horrible rookie year. Whereas Nick Bolton, all rookie team, drafted 58. Didn't have the traits, didn't run as fast, didn't do anything. The same thing's about to happen tonight with Nakobe Dean. You watch. I do think someone's going to pass up on this because they're going to get in that late 20 range and they're going to be like, let's take a gamble here. Instead of saying, I don't know, ground rule doubles are kind of cool. Ground rule doubles are kind of safe, right? We don't have a history of having success, 16 to 32. None of us do. None of us. Not Belichick, not freaking Andy Reid. None of them. Ain't got none of them that have any type of success right there, right? In that or area of range. Continued success. But a lot of them apparently can just close their eyes and throw a dart on the donkey's butt, whatever, or Eeyore, whatever. Okay, just put it on, pin the tail on the donkey, right? And just figure it out in that first 16, but they can't figure it out in that back 16. So if I come to you and I say, Coach, got this linebacker out of Georgia, Okay. Got this linebacker out of Georgia. By far was the best player on film for 16 games or, 15 games this last year on a defense where we got guys going top 15. Okay. 3 of them. Okay. 3 of them maybe going top 18, right? Best player on the defense, hands down. And by the way, we think as a scouting department, this guy's going to play for 10 years. Period. Point blank. He's going to play inside linebacker for us for 10 years. Duh. Like, yeah, come on. We got the 18th pick. Come on. We got the 21st pick. Come on. Okay? Because I just showed you. Look, man. Like, we got guys in that 2021 NFL draft. We got guys in that 2021 NFL draft in 19 and 20 right here in the New York Giants and Kadarius Toney. How do you think they feel? I guarantee you they need an inside backer right now. I guarantee you they could have used something that helped their roster a little bit more than Kadarius Toney did last year, right? There's already rumors of them potentially trading him 18 months into his career. Okay, so this idea of swinging for the fences after the 16th pick is asinine. It's asinine. It's how you end up losing, okay, and whiffing on guys like N'Keal Harry. That's how you end up having that happen, where you see the 6'3" guy that never, and I mean never, separated in college. Not once. Never got on top of nobody, never broke nobody off on some routes, never did nothing. And you just said, well, we get him in the league and we get him in our offense, we'll figure it out. Wrong. No. What you should have took was the nice, clean, polished product, like a Nakobe Dean, and been safe. In the first 16, we take our hacks. In the back 16, we take our guarantees, right? We take our ground rule doubles. The guys that we know we're going to make solid contact with, they ain't a whole lot of questions, right? None of that, okay? And inversely, we're going to talk about some guys and apply this method, right? This first 16, back 16, to some rest of these guys in this Georgia space, because I think there's like 6. See, Nakobe, Quay Walker, Trayvon Walker, Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt, and Lewis Seen, and George Pickens. There's like 7 guys that could potentially go in the first round tonight. 6 or 7 guys from Georgia that could go in the first round. So let's apply this first 16, back 16, right? Safe versus taking the swings, a theory to the rest of these Georgia guys. But first, let's throw a shouts to Gramco. TheGramco.com, promo code Brooks25 will get you 25% off on all of the finest Delta 8 and CBD gummies available, as well as disposable vapes. They sent me some new ones of those lately. I got some of them right here. But anyways, got some good stuff over there. TheGramco.com. Check them out. Promo code Brooks25, 25% off. They are veteran owned. If you don't know the drinking game, you're not in the Discord, and that's a shame. See a whole bunch of comment section going crazy about commitments. I don't think it happened. It's a benefit of keeping literally everyone in this industry on alerts. My phone goes off constantly, every day, constantly, but not really worried about it. We'll handle Q&A here in a little bit, guys. So keep them plugged in. Keep hitting those. If you hit that question mark, right, and send in your question, we will make sure we hit it before we go out today. Appreciate you guys for hollering at us. So how do we apply this first 16, back 16, separate the Qs from the first round? Discussion, data points, charts. Shouts out to the graphics team, a.k.a. Jay Griff, Dog South Central on Instagram. How do we apply this to other Georgia Bulldog players that are up and available for the first round? Let's talk about Jordan Davis, that is, first. Okay. In my opinion, at the worst, that dude's a ground rule double. At the worst, Jordan Davis plays first and second down for you, and teams have an absolute hellified time running the football. That's the worst case. Worst case, 8-year starter. Worst case, 10-year starter if his body holds up. But we're not out here banking on that, right? We're not out here trying to project that. That's not our job. Our job is we probably ain't gonna be here 8 years if we're the Detroit Lions, right? Or if we're the Houston Texans. I ain't gonna be here in a half a decade. Who gives a shit? You know what I'm saying? Like, those guys ain't trying to think about it. They're trying to think about immediate impact, 3-4 year impact, right? They're not thinking about a decade from now. Will Jordan Davis still be able to keep his weight down? Ain't no general manager out here in this world should be thinking about that. No offense. Okay, so anyways, Jordan Davis, worst case, floor. I mean, the floor of this football player is Haloti Ngata. The floor of this football player is a guy that can dominate the line of scrimmage in the run game, right? Christian Wilkins. That guy ain't going to lead the league in sacks ever. No, he's probably going to be pulled off on third downs a lot of times too in the league, right? So this idea that Jordan Davis, I mean, this is the perfect example of this, right? This is a guy that you should take the swing on because you know he's going to be a hit. Worst case, again, like I said, 10-year starter. Best case scenario, absolute game record. Whoa, holy crap, we can't block that guy. You know, kind of like he was in the SEC this year. If that turns out to be true, you nailed it, right? You absolutely nailed it, especially if you're one of these teams that runs either an odd front defense or you're one of these teams like the Chargers who ain't drafted a 300-plus pound defensive lineman in God knows how long. We just talked about Jerry Tillery. That was their attempt to get bigger at defensive tackle. They drafted a 6'3", 293-pound 3 technique out of TCU. So, yeah, he ain't getting out that first 16 picks. I promise you that right now. I think the Chargers have 17. I think Houston Texans at 13 is the place to look right there. I've even heard if Seattle can't get out of 8 or 9, they're trying to trade out of that. If they can't get out of either one of those and they stuck with both picks, Jordan Davis might be one of them. Okay, so this is a guy that is going to go very, very high tonight. And again, at his very, very best, he's an absolute mammo home run. At his worst, he's a ground rule double. Take this hack if you're in the top 16 of the NFL draft. We already talked about Trayvon Walker in the discussion, the separation between safety picks like Aiden Hutchinson and get your ass fired because you took the safety pick in Trayvon Walker. I mean, that I would be so terrified of the Sam Bowie, Michael Jordan stuff. I would be so terrified of the Mitch Trubisky, Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson stuff. Anybody ever that watched all three of those football players in college would be like, yeah, those other two are like supremely talented to that Trubisky dude. But I don't know. He's kind of safe. To hell with safe. Oh, okay. If you want safety, I don't know. Buy some Ring, security cameras on your front door. Don't be looking for safety in that first 16 picks. Be looking for upside and top side. That's what Trayvon Walker is. Now, Quay Walker to me is he is the fine line between, are we taking this guy for projection because he's 6'4", 240, or are we taking this guy because his ceiling is low, or rather his floor is high, right? Because the ceiling on Trayvon Walker is Darius Leonard. The ceiling on Trayvon Walker is, all pro for sure. He's got that in him. There is a possibility that if he figures everything out, that might one day be it, right? That could possibly one day happen. But if you're out here taking projects, again, like we showed you, that's real risky business. We're looking for ground rule doubles after that late 20 slot, right? That back end, that back third, particularly of the NFL draft, that after 20 selection, we want to start making solid contact. Quay Walker is the magical combination of both. If I take Quay Walker and he gets no better, he's an 8-year pro. He is. If I take Quay Walker right now and he don't get a lick better, that dude plays for me on Sundays for quite a long time. He really does. And if he gets 5, 10, 20% better, you might be looking at a top 5 linebacker in all of the NFL. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a first-round draft pick, which is why I think tonight you might see Quay Walker drafted ahead of Nakobe Dean. Don't freak out if it happens. I think it's a legitimate possibility. I kid you. I kid you not, because I do. I think he's the combination between safe in terms of high floor and, my God, what could this guy be? What could this guy turn into if he actually develops like we think he could? Now, Lewis Cine is the very similar case to Quay on this, right? 6'2", 195 pounds, 4'3", The traits say high ceiling. The film says he needs a couple more years, honestly. Like, if Lewis Cine came back, started another 14 games at Georgia last year, and showed a progression as an athlete, he might have been a top 20 pick. He might still be a top 32 pick. I personally don't see it this year. Okay. And I've had this discussion with scouts. I'm like, they project, because they're doing the projection thing, right? They're doing just look at this play where he's running down Slade Bolden, in the national title game on a screen pass. Look at this big hit on, the running back in the alley. Look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. And I'm like, yeah, I see all that too. But I also see where it was like quarters of the football game where he just kind of disappears. So I see that as well from Lewis. I see teams attacking him in certain situations. It's a whole deep dive that we've already done on Patreon in terms of him as a football player. I think he's a top 45 guy, but there are guys that fail to do what I'm talking about right here. They will take Lewis Cine and players like Lewis Cine, and their hit rate drastically decreases, in my opinion. Lewis Cine could maybe one day be an all-pro safety, or he maybe could one day be the guy that runs down on kickoff 7 years in his league or in his career and just lights folks up and is an all-time Hall of Fame special teams player. We don't know. We don't know yet. That's the type of guy that you miss on if you're not careful, if you're really, really not careful. I do believe in the prospect, but he's not a surefire thing like the rest of these guys, okay? Like the rest of these guys. And finally, the chef's kiss example of this is George Pickens. It is George Pickens. George Pickens to me is dangerous in that 20 to 32 range. Okay. If you're the Green Bay Packers and you know you only got 2 years left, 3 years left, Aaron Rodgers, by all means, go do it. By all means, go do it. Okay. But man, okay, George Pickens is a home run swing. If I'm drafting George Pickens tonight, I am saying to hell, just like Kirby did out of high school. Honest, I swear to God, honestly, just like Kirby did out of high school. He took the gamble and said, I'm going to try to point this in the right direction. And by God, when he did, that dude could play some football, right? So as an NFL evaluator, maybe you're sitting there and you're saying, well, I'm not going to have to take him to class, right? I'm not going to have to worry about him going to class. He's in Green Bay or wherever the hell he is. He's not in Athens, Georgia, right? So that's a plus. Like, you can rack all these things up in your head and you can make up all these ideas as to why whatever your fears are might not come true. Okay. I personally would prefer not to have to worry about all that. I wouldn't. I would prefer to take in the back end of that first round. You guys correct me if you feel differently. I would much rather prefer to take the guy that I know feels safe and good about, hey, this guy's going to add to our football team next year. He's going to be a really, really solid portion of our football team, and we know we can count on him every single Sunday. As opposed to, you watched it for 3 years. There was one major injury in George Pickens' career, one major injury, and he played 15 games in 3 years, 16 games in 3 years. So there was a little bit of touch and go there, right? There was a little bit of question marks when it comes to, I'm not even going to call it all field stuff. I'm just talking about the full scope of the football player, right? The full scope of the football player says that's a gamble in the back end of the first round. When I just told you my approach would be, let's hit ground rule doubles. Let's take a bunch of Nakobe Deans. Matter of fact, if we can find every Nakobe Dean in the world, let's find it, right? Let's take a bunch of DK Metcalfs. Let's do it. Let's take a bunch of DK Metcalfs, who was I believe, first pick of the third round guy, last pick of the second round guy, right? Let's take a bunch of Lockett's, right? Let's take a bunch of Stephon Diggs. I don't know where he was drafted. You get what I'm saying, though, right? Let's take a bunch of guys that we know in that back end of that first round, they are going to contribute to our football team. Not, could one day be an all-pro, could one day be off of our team, we got to get rid of them, right? Not saying that any of these guys are going to progress like that. I'm just saying that as a history, let's take a gamble on a guy, picks in the back end of the first round, they don't work out. More times than not, they don't work out. It's the reason why people can get up with a microphone and say, oh, well, 50% of first-round draft picks bust. No, they don't. The first 15 picks hit on a rather high rate, especially if they're position players. I mean, an extremely high rate. I mean, like north of 70% in terms of hit rate. That guy's a dude, okay, if they're not a quarterback. That back end of that first round, gets real sketchy. Gets real sketchy. So be very, very careful. And again, man, I think a couple of these Georgia guys fit right in perfectly. Quay Walker, Nakobe Dean, Devontae Wyatt, in my opinion, those guys are home run back into the first round picks. Because got 10 years. 10 years in the league. We ain't got to worry about Hey, are we gonna pick this guy's option up in the fifth year? You ain't got to worry about that, right? We're gonna try to trade him. We're gonna try to get rid of some cap space. Nah, none of that. None of that has to be worried about if you draft really, really solid ground rule double football players in that back end of that first round. All right. I got a little segment called Contakes. I don't know if I like this. Contakes. If you say it really fast, it sounds like context, and it's context to hot takes. Contakes. I don't have a producer or a friend or anyone to bounce these things. I got friends, obviously, but I don't have a producer to bounce these things off of. So I write my own sheets. And every time I ask my wife, hey, what should I talk about today? She's always like, talk about me. She's awesome. She's awesome. She's, 20 deep into a pregnancy at this point, deep into a pregnancy right now. Got pregnancy brain. Okay. Which is what I walk around with, it seems like, every day. Which is just chaotic, scatterbrain. But I don't have a producer, so when my brain says context, makes sense to me. But it sounds like, Brooks, you're saying it's a con, like a convict, and a take. But no, it's just context to hot takes that I find on Twitter, like this one. Okay, we did an article on this on Dogs Daily. I'm just riffing at this point, like this one, right? Oh, that Jordan Davis. That Jordan Davis can't play 3 downs, Brooks. I mean, did you watch the SEC championship game? Bama ran him off the field. Brooks. Guy can't stay in shape, like Swedish Fish too much. Well, I mean, he played at 360, and now he's down to 330. Are we going to be able to keep the weight off of him? We don't know if that guy can rush the passer. He never even played on third down at Georgia. Let me tell you something right now. Just because I haven't done something or haven't been able to do something doesn't mean I can't do it. Okay? Doesn't mean I can't do it. Just because my wife is not out here, attracting every man when she walks to the grocery store, okay? Or not rather attracting, but, groping every man that comes to the grocery store, don't mean she can't. You know what I'm saying? Don't mean the options aren't there for her, right? The options for Jordan Davis to rush the passer, ladies and gentlemen, are there. I got the freaking data points to prove it to you. I got a 10-yard split that's equivalent of most edge rushers in this draft, which is the direct equivalence to what we call burst, which is a direct relation to your success rate in rushing the passer. Okay. I got all these data points that says this guy can do this. This guy just hasn't been able to do this, right? This guy just hasn't been given the ability to do this. Hey, go get upfield on third down and go make some plays, right? Go get upfield on 3rd and 8 and make some plays. Go get after the quarterback. That doesn't happen at Georgia. They don't, because they go rabbit package on 3rd and 7+. If it's 3rd and 7+, which Georgia oppositions and offenses facing Georgia this year in the last 2 years, we're in a lot of those situations because Jordan Davis is so good on 1st and 2nd down. Against the run and against short passes and against offenses that try to get the ball out quickly. He's so dominant at that success rates on 1st and 2nd down were so ridiculously low that Georgia faced more 3rd and longs than 99.99999% of college football teams in America. So he didn't get to play on those downs, right? So just because the dude hasn't done it doesn't mean he can't. All right. If you go back and watch the Clemson tape, he is getting after the Q because they're letting him. It's the very early in the football season. Georgia didn't know what depth they had behind him. Julian Rochester was not quite available, right? And you know how Kirby is with playing young players in premium positions. So Jordan Davis got left on the field on 3rd down more than any other football game all year. Go watch that tape. He is throwing pass moves. He is getting upfield, right? He is working with good pad level. He is resetting the line of scrimmage. You're not evaluating him close enough. If you can't look at him and say, if they throw the ball at an empty on 1st and 10 and he's on the field, I feel uncomfortable about him rushing the passer. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're not looking at the right stuff, in my opinion. Okay? So there you go. Next one. Tell me if you've heard this one. Nakobe Dean's too small. It's too slow, right? I don't need notes for this. I don't ever write notes for Nakobe segments. Again, watch the tape, right? Shut up and grind the tape. It's everywhere on everything that we do. It's very, very, very important to me. Because you don't, in my opinion, the board for me was set when the last ball was snapped. When the last ball was snapped, the board was set. There was no there was no need for any further evaluation. It was all right there, right? For me, because I'm not in rooms on meetings or anything like that. And for me, the best football player on Georgia's defense last year for 15 games was number 17. And quite frankly, it wasn't really close. I know you're not supposed to say that when you got first round draft picks all over the field, including Jalen Carter. I know you're not supposed to say that, but go watch that tape. Seriously. And don't even watch it in full speed. Watch it in half speed. And just notice how much further and how much faster Nakobe Dean moves than everyone else. Purely off instincts, off film study, off natural ability, off all that good stuff. Okay. Go watch him. And then ask me again what his 40 is. I'll tell you what his 40 is. I think his 40 is like a 4.72. Do I think it matters? No. Because let me tell you, I've seen him cover Blake Corum, a really, really fast running back that ran slap over the Big Ten this year. Led the nation in 80-yard touchdown runs, I believe, in Blake Corum. A dude that in the Big Ten, people tell me is a burner. Nakobe Dean hawked that joker on a jet sweep. Hawked him. Made him look like, turn around like, what in the hell was that? It was a rocket ship. It was 17. I've seen it. We've all seen it with our own eyes. I've seen Nakobe Dean turn, flip, run with number 3, and number 3 being Devontae Smith down the middle of the field. The same route that had Twitter going, oh, why the hell would anybody put a linebacker man-to-man on Devontae Smith? I'll tell you, because Georgia did it. That's why Ohio State thought that they could get away with that crap. Georgia ran Tampa 2 over and over again on Alabama the last couple of years. Did they get beat occasionally? Yes, they did. But when the number 3 receiver ran directly across the middle, do you know who had to cover him? Nakobe Dean and Monty Rice. You know who did every single time? Nakobe Dean and Monty Rice. So don't ask me what the 40 is. I see it right there. Okay? Don't ask me what his arm length is. Don't ask me how tall he is. Watch the tape and tell me that dude don't have the best pass rush acumen in the entire draft class for linebackers. You know why he had 6.5 sacks last year? It wasn't because he was 6'4", 235 pounds, whatever the hell it is that Quay Walker is that I'm getting argued with apparently in the messages right now. You know why he had 6.5 sacks? Because he hand fights like nobody's business. When I say pass rush acumen, I'm talking about his ability to separate hands, right? Play with some bend, decide which move he's going to use and apply it accordingly. That stuff doesn't come naturally. That stuff comes with work for inside backers. And this dude did all those things. 3-year graduate from the engineering program at Georgia. A Q dog as well, off field. Every single intangible in the history of intangibles, this dude's got. But somebody's going to pass on him because he's 5'11 and a quarter? And he's got 32.5-inch arms? Why? Just turn on the tape, man. Just turn on the tape. It's not going to matter. It's not going to matter. I promise you that right now. Number 3, right? Number 3. It's not even a hot take because his offensive line, nobody really cares about him. But the other take that I'm directly opposed against is this idea that Jamari Sawyer is a guard. The Jamari Sawyer, I understand he doesn't have NFL traits and length at tackle, but hell, he don't have him at guard. Look who's playing. Go look at the all-pro teams. Look who's playing guard. You think Quentin Nelson looks anything like Jamari Sawyer? No, he does not. Quentin Nelson is 6'4.5", 330 pounds. He looks nothing like Jamari Sawyer. Jamari Sawyer's 6'2 1/4", 315. The two humans look nothing alike. Okay, so this idea that because he's shorter, he's got to kick inside, to me, is blasphemous. It doesn't make any sense. What decides when and if a player kicks inside? I'll tell you, the tape. Everything's in the tape. Okay? Watch Jamari Sawyer's tape. He is an incredible, incredible football player at left tackle and right tackle. Watch him at guard. He looks lost. And I understand it's a transition period, but this is a guy that played all 5 positions, super athlete, not worried about his ability to kick inside if it's asked of him. But that dude's a tackle, man. He's a tackle. He shut down Aiden Hutchinson and Will Anderson in 3 games, right? Yeah, Will Anderson, Aiden Hutchinson, Will Anderson. You Georgia fans know about this. You freaking scream it at every Bama fan in the world and every draft opinionator in the world. Jamari Sawyer locked him down. Yeah, he did. Played really, really well. Locked the rest of the SEC down too. I don't think he gave up I think he had 1 quarterback pressure all year, maybe like 4 in the last 2 years. The guy is an elite pass pro guy at left tackle. And you watch, the New England Patriots are going to draft that sucker. They are. And they're going to be the only team in the league playing Isaiah Wynn at left tackle at 6'2 1/4 and Jamari Sawyer at right tackle at 6'2 1/4. And they going to wipe the floor with everybody they play because they got good feet. He's not a guard. He's a tackle, in my opinion. I play him in tackle. So there you go. My last one. We've kind of talked about this guy all show, and it's fitting because he's going to be the talk of the night. And he's going to be the first round draft pick. I don't think, or first overall draft pick. I don't think there's any questions about it at this point. And that is Trayvon Walker. And there's a lot of people that tonight you'll see it I guarantee in the replies of the Jacksonville Jaguars tweet that announces they've drafted Trayvon Walker with the #1 overall pick. I guarantee you see a couple of replies that go, this guy only had 6 sacks last year at Georgia. This guy only had 9.5 sacks over his career at the University of Georgia. This guy can't rush the passer. This guy. And you guys know the obvious rebuttals, right? Sat behind Malik Herring for 2 years. Think about that. The #1 overall draft pick sat behind Malik Herring for 2 years at the University of Georgia. You guys think I'm saying some fugazi stuff when I tell you that Kirby's got some allegiance to them old heads. That's daggum. Your Honor, Exhibit A. You know what I'm saying? Like, Malik Herring held Trayvon Walker off the field for 2 years. We'd like to submit that evidence to the court. Okay, so this guy sat for 2 years. There's a reason why the stat sheet on box or stat reference looks like it does. But more importantly, the position. You guys that watch this network, y'all understand. You watch a lot of football with me. We try to teach you a lot of football here on this network. But this is a dude that was playing in B gap. This is a dude that was playing in between guards and tackles for most of his career. Okay, so his stats aren't going to look, dramatic. Okay, Malik Herring's didn't look dramatic, but the film looks dramatic. Watch the tape. Again, watch the tape on Trayvon Walker. You don't have to do the stat padding, right? You don't have to do the stat watching. I was looking back today on our YouTube channel, and I found a video that we did on Trayvon, and it was titled, and I quote, Trayvon Walker has the ability to become a high first-round draft pick. This was coming into this year. And it was all these things that he had to develop, right? He had to actually develop a pass rush acumen. He has none of it. Nakobe Dean has a better pass rush acumen right now, a better skill set right now. I know it's a hot take right now than Trayvon Walker. Watch the tape. His ability to run ghost moves, run, hand fight moves, run overhand swipes, sink rips in properly, play with good pad level, play with good bend, play with the good arc. All those things that are required to be an elite pass rusher. Nakobe Dean does those things far better right now than Trayvon Walker does. Far better. Trayvon Walker's pass rush acumen consists of one thing, and it's a long arm stick. That's all he's got. He hits you right in the chest and either pushes you into the quarterback or folds you completely and rips you apart, right? And just rips you and gets past you. Tremendous in the run game, but has very little idea what he's doing right now as a wide 7 as a rusher, because how could he? He hadn't had the opportunities to do so. That's what we were talking about earlier. This dude ain't even come close to figuring out what it is that he could be. Nothing. Someone's going to let this dude, it's going to be Jacksonville. Jacksonville's going to let this dude play a true 5 or a wide 7 for 65 snaps a game, and you're going to watch what happens. He's been playing 4-eye for 30 snaps a game, 5 technique for 20 snaps a game, 7 technique for 3 snaps a game. And they about to get him all in one spot. And you watch how quickly that football player develops. You're going to your head's going to spin. Your absolute head is going to spin as to how good this football player is going to be. All right, got a few minutes left, guys. Let's rattle off some Q&A before we got to get into our draft coverage. So feel free, fire up them questions. Let me scroll back through the comments and see what we got. Does Nakobe Dean go in the first? Look, for the same reasons that I laid forth, right? I think there are some football teams in that back end of that first round. Depending on where Devin Lloyd goes, he's a top 16 pick. I think a top 20-ish range pick Devin Lloyd is. I think people are going to gamble on that guy. But in terms of Nakobe, I think you're going to have to find a team that has the mentality that I would in that back end of that first round. I'm trying to hit ground rule doubles. I'm trying to make sure the guy I draft is going to be on my roster in 5 years and contributing to it thusly, right? So I would draft Nakobe in the first round, and I think he does end up getting into that first round of the NFL draft. All right. Let's see here. Brooks, who do you take if you need a safety? A healthy Richard account in 2020 or Lewis C? Um, so I'm going to apply this question two ways. The first way I'm going to apply it is to the University of Georgia. If I'm taking a college football player, I'm taking Richard account every single time. That dude, if for no other reason than to be able to watch him again, watching tape on Richard account is one of the most oh, it's one of the most awesome experiences in the world. Because me personally, nothing makes me smile more than watching a football player know something before everyone else on the field does. And Richard's tape is nothing but that. Richard's tape is nothing but like, holy shit, one guy knows what's going on. No one else does. No one. And it's like one Mississippi, two Mississippi. Still, no one knows what's going on. Oh crap, Richard just made a play. Like that was fun. But it also came with, oh my God, whoa, shit. Richard just got beat for a double move for 65 yards, right? It came with those drawbacks as well. But if I'm an NFL football team, I'm taking Lewis Cine because I can't enjoy watching 4.3, 4.75 on tape, which I think if Richard's healthy, he's a 4.58 runner, 4.61 runner or whatever. But I can't teach you 4.37. So if I'm an NFL team, I'm definitely taking Lewis Cine in that situation as much as it hurts my heart. I don't think Richard ever would have been a first-round draft pick, even if he were truly fully healthy. Here we go. Do you think Jordan Davis will transition into a four-down football player? I personally know, based off watching pro tape, that this idea of four-down football players is really, really overblown. Really overblown. Because this idea of keeping players fresh ain't just new to college football. It ain't just exclusive to college football. Teams run with higher paces in pro ball too. They play with speed. They play with tempo. They do all that stuff. So what do you need to do? You need to rotate accordingly, right? You need to keep guys fresh. If you play 75 snaps, your best players are your best interior defensive linemen are only going to play 45, 50 of those snaps anyways. So do I think that's the real question? Do I think I can get 45 to 50 snaps out of Jordan Davis on a Sunday? Absolutely. Absolutely. I think I can get that out of him. Where has Darian Kendrick fallen to as Jake Osteen? My bad. Additionally, do you believe someone takes Fitz? Let's talk about Fitz for a second. John Fitzpatrick. As long as the McShay train and the Shanahan wagon is in the NFL, okay, as long as the Bengals head coach is a Shanahan tree guy, okay, as long as Arthur Smith is in the NFL, as long as Kyle Shanahan's in the NFL, as long as Sean McVay's in the NFL, as long as all these guys, but I think it's about 8 or 9 teams. I think the Chargers OC is one of these guys as well. As long as these Shanahan, West Coast, old school, pro-style offenses are still in the league, and by the way, running rampant, okay, and absolutely winning Super Bowls doing it, there are going to be teams that draft John Fitzpatrick's. There will be, okay? And if for some reason you're some freak, I don't know, if there's some 6'8", 265-pound former 5-star in high school that's at a school like, I don't know, Georgia right now that's running, I don't know, let's say 12 personnel under, I don't know, an NFL OC like Todd Monken. If there was somebody out there that was doing that and could, be 6'8", 265 and run freakish routes and do all that kind of stuff, that guy would be like a top 60 pick, honestly. Fitzy is going to be a top 5-6 round pick because of this, right? If the Bengals draft him, Saturday, don't be shocked, right? If one of these teams that run these offenses, if the Falcons draft him, don't be surprised. They need a lot of blocking tight ends in this world right here. Did Hutchinson have a bad Orange Bowl? Did Georgia just handle him? And he had played a team that caliber before. I laugh when people do the, oh man, Georgia shut, or Jamari Sawyer shut down Aiden Hutchinson. No, Georgia shut down Aiden Hutchinson. Okay, that whole entire game plan, from chipping backs to leaving extra tights in the formation to rolling away from the Joker to throwing screens into him, the whole entire game plan was like, hey man, this defense outside of 97, real mid. Like real mid. Like Arkansas mid. Like 8-5 in the SEC mid. But that 97, he's good as shit. He's really, really good. Let's stay away from him. And if we have to block him, let's not do it by ourselves. Okay, let's not do it by ourselves. Now, there are some clips where Jamari Sawyer got the best of him. Jamari is a really, really good football player. But that the idea that Hutchinson was just like shut down in that football game, I think it's a little disingenuous to game planning. And I think game planning is very, very important. Hell, we do a what to expect episode every single week. Every single week. Now, as far as Ajabo goes, me personally, Ajabo is that back into that first round, even prior to the injury. Ajabo would have been that back into that first round pick that's a gamble. 100% a gamble. That's a 3-year football player. He ain't been playing organized football but for 6 or 7 years. I don't even think that long, maybe 5 or 6 years. Okay. So that is you're betting on ceiling type of football player. And as far as ceiling football players go, you ain't about to walk into a football game with Warren McClendon, who just got done seeing Will Anderson and Dallas Turner talking about I got some good ceiling. No, you better come in there with I got some seasoning. That's what you need. Okay. So I think that was more of a bad matchup for Ajabo. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to chop the deuces because the NFL draft is just about to start. I appreciate all you guys for being here. If you enjoyed what we were doing, if you enjoyed any of the analysis, camaraderie or any of that going on here on this platform, you'll love Patreon. I promise you right now, patreon.com/Brooks Austin. And enjoy it, man. Enjoy this rolling commercial for the University of Georgia. We'll see you next time.